Hey, my name is Brent here on Cloudy, the Chance of Meeples. Question for you. What do you get when you cross Captain America and the Incredible Hulk? Well, of course you get the Star-Spangled Banner. I'm sorry for that one. Bad joke of the day. Anyways, speaking of what do you get when you cross two things, what do you get when you cross Carcassonne and a train stock game? You get Railroad Rivals, and that's what we're taking a look at today, the 1 to 5 player game from Forbidden Games. Cue the thunder. Okay, so the radar overview for Railroad Rivals. In front of you I have it set up for 3 players. Each player takes a color of trains. Here we have black, yellow, and red, and then each player will take the corresponding tile representing that color, and they will pick which side they want. So all of them have a male and a female side. You will randomly select a turn order and then set up the trains at the top of this score track in order of how this is. So first player will start with 6 points, second player 8, third player 10, and then if there's a fourth and a fifth, they would continue to move up on that track. You take all of the city tiles, you get 1 starting tile, in this case it's Cincinnati, and then shuffle all the rest, deal 2 to each player, and then you are just about ready to begin. There's 4 phases for each round of this game. You have a draw tile phase, and then you bid for turn order, and then you'll draft those tiles that were drawn, and then everybody will place a tile, and then everybody will deliver a good, which are represented by these cubes, and depending on how many players are playing will be what colors are in the bag. This is set up for a 3-player game, so we have just 2 colors. So first things first, you bid for turn order. Of course, the first round of the game, it's already set for you, but let's just say that this is the second round of the game. For bidding for turn order, you would then take 1 of each, city and stocks equal to the number of players. So in a 3-player game, obviously 3. Yay for math. And then you would start bidding. So there is a variant on how to do the bidding, which I'll explain in a moment, and I highly suggest you play with that. Start with the person on the farthest right, and they would bid their points. Okay, so maybe the red player bids 2, and then the yellow player bids 3, and let's say the black player, they don't want to bid, so they would pass, and then it would come back to the red player, and let's say they bid 4, and the yellow player doesn't bid. Well, at that point, then whoever bid highest would then just scoot to the front of the line, and then they would pay 1, 2, 3, 4, however many points which they bid. The other way that you can do the bidding for turn order, which I prefer, is you start with whoever's the last. They would bid, and then would go in order, and then whoever would pass first would be last. So let's say red bids 2, yellow 3, black says I'm passing, so they would go to the end. The next person who would go to the who would pass would then move in and go to the left. There we go. Okay, so I like that rule. It's in the rule book. So just 2 different ways to set up turn order. So after you have turn order, then you draft the tiles. So let's say yellow is first, and then they wanted, let's say, the Seattle tile. So they would take that, and then maybe red would take that, and then black, would take this one. It will come back to yellow. Well, last time yellow took Seattle. So when you draft a second time, you have to take the tile of the type you didn't take the first time. So then they would take this one, and then these would all go. So that is the first phase of a round, and then, the first and then the second one. The third one is you place a tile. So you're going to be building this this map, and of course it's not going to be accurate to what the States looks like, but you'll take your tiles and then you will place a tile, and it just has to connect to one side. So you could place, let's say, this. It's connecting B and O and B and O. Then you would take cubes equal to the number in the corner. So then you would put 2 cubes here, And I will say this, the starting tile also would have 2 cubes at the beginning of the game. Okay, and then everybody would place a tile. Let's say another player takes, let's say this one, and they would connect this one. Sorry, yellow would then put that. And then red would connect P, R, and R. And they would put their little connecting thing there. And then you would put 3 cubes down. There we go. Okay, let's just say black then would play, where can you go? Here we go. And then we go here. And then you would put 2 on this one. So that would be the third phase. And then the last phase is everybody's going to deliver a cube, starting with the first player. So everybody will take 1 cube and they'll move it along any line. So the yellow player could go from B and O to B and O there, or they could go C and O to C and O, or they could go here to here, knowing that if they do it on their own, they get all the points. But if they use someone else's connection, that the other player would also receive points. So the first player to do any of one color, so if yellow went there, they would gain 3 points. They would go up. Okay. Say the red player then would also go over here, P and R, or P, R, and R, and then they would also get 3 points because it's the first yellow. And then the black player would go C and O, and then that would only be 2 because it's already been delivered. That color's already been delivered this phase. I should mention also, every time you move along a specific railroad, then the stock goes up. So B and O would have went up, P, R, and R would have went up, and then C and O. So that's the end of that phase. And then you start another round. You take another 3 tiles in this case, another 3 stocks. You do the bidding, and then you just continue to go. All the city tiles will run out, and then there'll be a bunch of stock tiles. At that point, you don't draft city tiles. You'll just be drafting twice as many stocks per turn. The game ends when someone plays on the round that someone plays their last city tile, and then you add up all of your stocks. So, for example, say I had 2 B and O and 1 of these at the end of the game, and B and O was up to 4, and up was on that, like that. Then you look at how many stocks you have, and the quick math, and 4 points each, and I have 2, so then that would give this player another 8 points, and then Union Pacific is at 2 points per stock, and I have 1, so that will give me another 2. So that's how you add up the score. Whoever has the most is the winner of Railroad Rivals. On to the final forecast. So the final forecast for Railroad Rivals, much like I said about Forbidden Games in my review on Extraordinary Adventures Pirates, which, if you haven't seen, link to the video in the description below. They pride themselves as a company on artwork and components, and Railroad Rivals meets that expectation. All 37 of the city tiles are all unique, and each one of them has an illustration of a building in that city from the early 1900s, and I think that's just the extra step. I know the little stock market markers that you move up and down, or not down, up on the board, those are all historically accurate to what those logos looked like in the early 1900s. So once again, big shout out to Forbidden Games and the components and the artwork, and it's just top notch. So first things first, fantastic. Gameplay on this, overall, I think this is, for me, a pretty chill game. I compared it to Carcassonne at the start of the review, and it's not mechanically the same as Carcassonne, but you're laying tiles down and you're building this big sprawling map that really doesn't look like the States, because you could have like Detroit right beside Seattle, or Minneapolis right beside LA. In theory, I don't know if the railroads line up, but in theory you could have all these cities that are like opposite sides of the country, or not even close to each other, right side by side. So You're not going to have an accurate map at the end of this game, but it's just an enjoyable game that I find to be kind of chill. It's not like it's just like robotic and you just do your thing on your turn and you're just whatever, just going through the motions. I think there's a lot in the bidding. First, for turn order, I really like that. I like the tension that that brings. As mentioned, there's a variant for bidding for turn order. I always play with the variant just because I like it that the first person to drop out, they go last. And in the normal rules, it has it that if you're first, the next round that when bidding happens, you can just bid like $1 because it doesn't really matter to you, because whoever outbids everybody else and goes first, you're just going to be bumped from first to second. So I really do like that bidding variant, and I find you got to really think. It's a little mathy and crunchy in the sense of knowing how much to bid so that you can go first, because if you're bidding five victory points to gain 5, it may not be worth it. But you know, specific different times in the game, if there's certain stocks out there that you really want a stock to really expand your portfolio, maybe it's the 4th stock of a certain railroad that you want that because you're really driving up the price and the stock value of that, then you're really going to want to bid high for a turn order. And I like that. And just knowing when to bid and then maybe just drop out and make someone else pay all those victory points. And I don't know, I really enjoyed the bidding on Railroad Rivals. I think placing tiles can be a little bit mean, not in the sense of like I'm attacking you, but you know, you have a certain few tiles in your hand and sometimes you can't even play a tile, which that really is a disadvantage for you, because if you can't play a tile and you can't get an extra locomotive on the board, then you're going to have to be using other people's connections and giving them victory points. So having places being blocked sometimes can be a big thing in this game. So just be mindful of that. I will say this, not all the stock tiles are equal. So Beano Railroad and IC and SR and SP, all of them, they don't have the same amount on each of the tiles. Like I said, there's 37 city tiles in the game, but there's not like the same amount of B&O connections and there's the same amount of IC. I think that's important for you to know when you go into this game, and if you're teaching this game to new players, let people know that, because if you're bidding, you know, and taking specific stock tiles for your stock portfolio, not realizing that railroad is only going to come out a handful of times, and if it gets blocked, it's not going to gain any stock. That's kind of detrimental to the game. So I think that's kind of a big thing. Maybe they could have put that in the rule book, saying overall, I do enjoy Railroad Rivals. I just recently played it, and I just had a great time playing this game. Relaxing evening. It's a game I feel that you can kind of chat with those that you're playing with, and you're not just looking at the table and just concentrating so heavily. You're not doing that in this game. So another good game from Forbidden Games. Putting it on the scale with the probability of Chance of Meeples, I'm giving this a solid 70% because I do enjoy this game. I like the way it looks at the end, the components, the artwork, just everything is just well-rounded in this game. So 70% Chance of Meeples. Until we meet again, check us out on Facebook, Cloudy with the Chance of Meeples. My name is Brent. Grab your umbrella. The forecast is cloudy with a chance of meeples.